Before we start, I'd like to point out that the interviewee has been to the military and has had psychiatric examinations that came out negative. I have screened tests that I've shown that are negative, OCD and schizo in this video, schizoaffective tests, bipolar negative, and schizophrenia negative. It's important to point that out. Thank you. All right, I'm going to start recording. So, what is your opinion on psychiatry?
Say that again. I lost you.
What is your opinion on psychiatry?
My opinion on psychiatry is that it's bullshit.
All right.
I believe that it's just another to make money and to give people pharmaceutical drugs, which is sorcery. I don't believe in psychiatry.
Okay, so do you have any experience with covert drugging or gassing?
Hold on. Let me see if I can turn this up because I cannot hear you. Okay, say that one more time.
Do you have any experience with being covertly drugged or gassed?
Do I have any experience?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I have experience with gassing. When I was visiting an island, and a guy approached me and he gave me a vapor or some gas that made me pass out on a dirt road that wasn't well traveled. And I was down for about 3 hours. I tried to get up and walk, and every time I tried to get up, I would fall back down. And so I was out for about 3 hours, in and out of consciousness for 3 hours when I was gassed. It was a vapor gas. He was pretending as if he was trying to befriend me, and he was asking me out for a drink and stuff like that. And all the while he was giving off this gas that was to my demise. It was like I was about to die.
All right. Is that it, or is there any with the government or anything like that?
Please. Repeat that.
Is that the only experience? Is there any experience with the government doing it, or gang stalkers doing it, or anything like that?
Seems like we have a really bad connection. Is that my only experience? Is that what you said?
Yes. Is there any experience with the government doing it, or gang stalkers doing it?
I can't hear you.
All right. So, do you have any experience with the government doing it?
With the government?
Yes, gassing you. Or covert?
Yes, I do. I was in the military, and when I was in the military, they gassed me all the time. Every day that I was in the military, they tormented me. My superiors, my peers. I wanted to commit suicide.
And this wasn't what they do.
That's what,
you were singled out for it?
When I was in the military, yes, I was singled out. Asked me to the point where I wanted to commit suicide.
All right. Can you see how it would affect somebody's training in martial arts and sports?
How will gaslighting affect someone's training?
No, gassing.
Gassing. You're talking about? Are you talking about vapors that we inhale?
Yes.
Okay, you're not talking about gaslighting. All right. So in the military, I was gas. It was called gaslighting in the military, but the government, I believe, is like responsible for everybody's targeting, and gassing someone can definitely affect training. Those are harmful tools. If you experience what I experienced, they almost killed me. I felt like I was dying when I was on the floor for 3 hours in the gravel dirt. So I can only imagine like how you feel getting gassed all the time, not knowing what they're using, but how it's a detriment to your practice.
When you were in the military, did they screen you for mental illness?
Did they screen me?
Yes, for mental illness.
Yes. Yeah. You're screened. You can't have a mental illness coming into the military.
All right. So I just want to make sure my viewers understood that you've already been screened for mental illness, and so that, you know, it's harder to say that it's in your head or something. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. But, you know, they tried that. They tried to say that this was all in my head, but I was, they do have me classify me as being mentally ill. Do I sound mentally ill to you?
No. And I've been in psych ward.
Targeted individuals.
I've been in psych wards all my life. Some targeted individuals do come off as similar to mental illness, but that is how it's designed to be, you know.
That's what they do to all TIs. They want to have them, they are crazy when they want to pretend as if you have a mental illness, so no one will be you.
All right, so why do you think people don't believe people like us?
Because it's rare. It's rare. It's like that are asleep, because you're considered to be an awakening being. You're considered to have awakened to the truth. And a lot of the most have you go out there and spreading the truth. So crazy. And it's because the masses won't believe you because they've never heard of such a thing. They don't see that in the news. No family member of theirs is talking about what you're going through. So they can't relate. It's only a handful of us that being targeted like this. I mean, in the millions, but it's 8 billion people. It's 7 to 8 billion people in the world. So it's probably millions of us. But compared to masses, it's like a handful. It's like God's handful. So, yeah, no one really knows about what's happening to us. They can't comprehend. They don't know how to relate.
Do you believe they are gassing me, and is it fair to send me to the psych ward for my beliefs?
Yes, I do definitely, from what you've told me and from what I've experienced, we've experienced similar things. So I've definitely been gassed. And I definitely believe that it is for your beliefs. And the fact that you are waking up to the truth and trying to spread awareness.
Remember from my last interview with Joel Lay, he talks about being a student and the covert drugging. And the drugging started about the time that I went to University of Phoenix in 2010. And the gassing started within the last year or so.
I was formerly a student. I don't study anymore because they've run me, they got their drugs into me, and now I'm gone. Well, I was unable to study now, but between the two studies because I studied away from home.
One thing I would like to verify is electroshock therapy still goes on, and approximately a third of people who thought, who supposedly gave consent and signed forms, okay, they did not feel that they freely consented to ECT. The proportion who felt they did not freely choose their treatment had actually increased over time. The same themes arise whether the patient had received treatment a year ago or 30 years ago. Neither current nor proposed safeguards for patients are sufficient to ensure informed consent with respect to ECT. This goes back to everything I've been saying, man. These people, I've been talking about this for years, how they make you sign things and you're not in the state of mind to truly know what you're signing, and you're coerced and tricked into signing things. A whole third of these people felt that they had not freely consented. You know, it's not just something I made up. Time and time again, I'm proven right. Now look at this. Procedures for involuntary ECT vary from country to country depending on local mental health laws. Now let's go on here. Let me make it smaller so it's easier to see it all at the same time. Wow, I went all the way up. Okay, going back up. There we go. In the United States, ECT devices came into existence prior to medical devices being regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. When the law came into effect, the FDA was obligated to retrospectively review already existing devices and classify them and determine whether clinical trials were needed to prove efficacy and safety. While the FDA has classified the devices used to administer ECT as Class 3 medical devices as of 2011, the FDA had not yet determined whether the devices should be withdrawn from the market until clinical trials prove their safety and efficacy. The FDA considers ECT machinery to be experimental devices. In most states in the USA, a judicial order following a formal hearing is needed before a patient can be forced to undergo involuntary ECT. However, ECT can be involuntarily administered in situations with less immediate danger. Suicidal intent is a common justification for its involuntary use, especially when other treatments are ineffective. I actually have seen in the last couple of years, in this interview I stated I don't know whether it was still going on, because there's a lot of shady things that go on, but I've actually seen an older woman being held down by a big guy, whatever you want to call him, staff at a psych hospital in Northern California. And there was another guy closing the curtain, and you could hear her screaming, and she was very miserable. She didn't want it at all. And if you look at this, it says in most states, in the USA, a judicial order following a formal hearing is needed before a patient can be forced to undergo involuntary ECT. Right after it says the FDA considers ECT machinery to be experimental devices. So any idea that they wouldn't experiment on people, that they've stopped experimenting on people, officially they can force you to be experimented on with electroconvulsive therapy, which is a form of technology. And a third of people who even consent, who even sign the consent form, feel that they were tricked, or they don't agree that they truly consented, and they say we've been tricked, or this isn't fair, etc., etc. And here's what the machine looks like. I had to throw this in here, even though I'm not a big fan of making this video any longer. That's why I was talking quickly, and they would cite that, oh, he talks quickly as an example that that he's bipolar or something, when I have to talk quickly. And when you're in the psych ward, you talk quickly to the doctor to say as much as you can to, to assert your sanity. And you know, they only talk to you for a little while. You pick up on that quickly. They talk to you a little while, ask you a few questions, then dismiss you. Then they make a decision. So you're trying to say as much as you can in as little of a time as you have. You know, in the little time that you have. Well, I don't want to take any more time. Thank you. So here is a interview with someone who's known me for you know, just a quick clip from the interview for 14 years. Listen to what she says. Of course, she knows me better than any shrink and all the shrinks who've ever come across me in my life. Listen, knows me better than my family. I confide in her, not my family.
Wow. Wow. How long have you known me, would you say?
14 years.
Alright, do you think that I need psychiatric medication or psychiatric help?
No.
So, can you tell me what's been happening with you, with the gassing? I've just been noticing some really strange smells coming out of the house. Like, I'll show you, like, there's a vent here, so, can you see it beside the clock, right? Yep. Anyway, I guess it might very well be coming from there, but it was just a sick, nauseating smell. I usually get a headache afterwards. So, that's about it with regards to the smells, like, the gases, fumes, whatever you want to call them. Can you see why it would make somebody very angry if it happened to them every day? Yeah, definitely, yeah. Right. Yeah, because not only that, because I had to open the windows, and then, lo and behold, heaps of traffic comes along, doesn't it? It's just really noisy. And it's just annoying. It's infuriating. Alright, I'm going to end it right.
It is infuriating. This on top of the interview you just heard with a so-called targeted individual. That's her channel name, where she says she's being gassed, and she can understand why somebody would want to go to war and that with these people, and that it wouldn't be wrong, but she wouldn't recommend it. Basically, that it wouldn't help in her opinion. So there you have it, people. Needless to say, they'll come for me soon, one form or another, or they'll provoke me to violence, and then they'll pretend that I'm crazy. There's several ways this is going to play out, and because I brought up electroconvulsive therapy, almost certainly they are going to try to set the situation up for them to do it to me. That's how these people work. You know, they know that I'm very against it, and they're control freaks. They want to control my body and everyone else's. You've already seen that it's experimental. There's no reason for them to be using it. You know, it's violates the Nuremberg Code, and on record they're violating the Nuremberg Code. You know, according to them. On record, they say this is considered experimental technology, but we are going to force you to use it, which means we are experimenting on you, and you are a human being being experimented on against your will, on record. And on record, okay, it says that 50% of people who, you know, get shocked relapse. So what you're really seeing is 50% of people who get shocked. You know, after you go through electroshock therapy, you know that, hey, if you pretend like you're not better, there's a chance you're going to be shocked again. It goes back to the Zimbardo experiment, or no, excuse me. It goes back to, damn it, I forgot this guy's name. The guy who did the pain experiment, right? Where you get zapped, you know, and people, you know, it was meant for the Nazi Germany, understanding why people, the guards and everyone went through with the Nazi thing. This guy who zapped people, reminds me of that. You're getting zapped, and they're zapping you, and it's experimental. And if you don't act like you're magically cured and take the medicine and be a good bitch, then they're going to zap you again. So of course a certain percentage of people pretend like they're cured, wouldn't you? So as I'm reflecting on my situation, and the institutional racism, this is from, you know, Nelson Mandela, A Life in Photographs, and how I have to drive down the street because of cyber attacks, and how it's disproportionately white people doing this, and how there's people from all races who, you know, indulge. They drive Mercedes. They like feeling important. They don't like being called out as traitors to humanity and God. They want to feel appreciated and accepted by society and revered. And so they hate me for this, and, you know, they personally harass me themselves, not just the poor people who are their subordinates. You know, I can't help but notice, you know, that there's endemic corruption in our society, and the institutional racism is pervasive. So it's very apparent to me, you know, that it doesn't take a, clairvoyant to figure this out. Kids, don't try this at home. You will probably hit the bookshelf if you have one. You're going to put something on the table.